For this, I'm going to use a fairly sharp pencil and this piece of paper to help grid my paper off. This is 3 inches wide, so I'm going to line it up with the edge here. Now we don't have to do really dark lines, and they don't necessarily have to go all the way to the edges. We're just getting a grid here just to kind of help us place our pattern. Now the way we're doing this is one of the ways that fabric is designed. You know, if you have a pattern on a shirt, or some of you ladies, if you have a nice pattern on your skirt, somebody had to design that pattern, and a lot of times they would use a technique similar to this to get that pattern to repeat itself over and over again. And that is what we are attempting to do here, is to get an image to repeat itself over and over again. Now, you can start anywhere because it's going to just kind of fill in. I'm going to take my design here that I made and fit it into the grid right there. I'm going to take this pen and I'm going to trace over the design. Now, I like to do it, I've kind of found that doing like each of these triangles that are on the outside part first, and then doing the center part, makes it easy so I don't forget parts of it. And I always start at the top of the image here and then work my way around. I'm going to go ahead and draw that circle. I just know I'm going to forget the middle part. And you'll find that after you do this 5 or 6 times, you kind of get into a rhythm so that you don't forget it. Now remember, I started at the top. Okay, so now we're going to take that off, and there you see, there's that pattern. Now, the next one that we do, we're going to have to rotate it until we find the part of it that it fits, and that's why I made the outside part of this asymmetrical, so that it would be easier to line it up, because you can see that this is part of the bottom part of the flower here, and there's part of it that comes off at the top. Okay, so we're just going to line up these edges as close as possible, and starting in this top corner, I'm going to go ahead and trace my design out again. I'm trying not to press real hard on this paper as I do this, just so it doesn't smudge. You can see it's smudged a little bit in there. It smudges more if you move it around and let it wiggle. Okay, so there is our next part of the pattern. And then I'm going to come down here and do this one, so we're going to end up at least getting a whole flower, the whole tulip over here in the middle. And start on that corner. Trace over each triangle part. And then the flower in the middle. and then circle that. And there we go. And then we'll do one, which one is it? This one, okay. You have to kind of figure out where it's going to go, okay. Oops, I started in the wrong corner, didn't I? Well, I'll go ahead and do this one so that I, we'll just kind of rotate around. We'll do it backwards this time. Just typically, as long as you keep going in one direction rather than jumping around, you'll remember to get everything. And if you pick it up and you find that you did forget part of it, you can get it down in just about the right spot and repeat it. Now there we go. We've got an entire flower here, and you can see how the flower changes positions. When I come over here, the flower is now going to be facing up in this section, so you kind of have to do some rotating of this design here to get it to fit into the squares. And if you look at some of the patterns on fabrics that you have around the house, you'll notice that oftentimes the parts of the design do change orientations. Sometimes they're facing up, sometimes they're facing down, sometimes they're facing left, sometimes they're facing right. So it's all part of putting it all together. That's what I kind of like about having the center part of it being symmetrical, because it kind of gives you that up and down and left and right, and then something staying static, which is the, ooh, that scared me. My remote dropped off the board over there, made that noise. Okay, so we'll do one more, that way you can see that tulip kind of rotating around too. A little daisy here in the middle. Since I did make it symmetrical, it looks like it really doesn't change. But here you can see one of these tulips is facing down and the other is facing up. So we're going to continue on with this and finish up this design, and then we will start coloring it in.